Welcome to the Network Chatter, a show dedicated to the sci-fi horror RPG Vast Grimm. On today's episode, episode number 2, we talk to the team about day 1 of the crowdfunding campaign as Vast Grimm is on GameFound.
So, greetings, everybody. This is obviously a big day for us at Infinite Black because we launched Vast Grimm on GameFound. We hit our funding goal, and we are, off to unlocking stretch goals. And so far, it's been really successful, and we're really happy with how it's going. Tonight, we just want to chat about the game and the campaign, answer any kind of questions anybody has. My name is Lat. I'm from Team Infinite Black, and I'll be asking some questions. I prepared a few questions. The other people on the team, Brian, David, and Ross, they haven't heard my questions yet, so it's going to be new to them. But let's go around and let's introduce everybody again. So, Brian, let's start with you.
Sure, I am Brian Colin, a member of the Infinite Black team, original creator of Vast Grimm, and designer, sculptor, writer, that sort of thing. And yeah.
All right, David?
I am David LaRocca. I am the owner of Infinite Black. I do a little bit of everything, but mainly art, product design, graphic design, and anything that has to do with drawing or painting or designing. I probably have a little bit of influence on.
Hey, I'm Ross Brandt. I'm an old friend of Brian's and co-creator of a lot of the content for Vast Grimm. I've done some of the design and working on some illustration stuff as well within the book. I'm not a member of Infinite Black, but I have absolute nothing but love for these guys right now for sure. You guys crushed it today. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Today's has been awesome. The fact that we're closing in on 1,000 backers on day 1 for this thing is extremely exciting.
Yeah.
Especially on a new platform.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We were nervous about it, but optimistic because, GameFound is new. We're new to GameFound. We know that a lot of our backers are new to GameFound. And not only that, but Vast Grimm is such a new thing. We've got to really sell it to people because they don't know what Vast Grimm is. But so far, it's done well, and I think people have been really positive about it. Like all the comments, people seem really excited about it. So.
Yeah, and the handful of people, all the people that have played it, really seem excited about it, and it really comes through, especially in some of the videos that are on the GameFound page that both Tony and Theo did. They've both played in games, and you can tell that they dig it.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen those videos yet, you should check them out because they did.
Gosh, they did such a good job. They both did.
So. And you can tell that they both really enjoyed playing the game, and that's what's important is knowing that whoever's making that video really truly enjoyed the game, and you can tell that they both did, and that is really exciting to us. Because that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to have fun, isn't it?
Absolutely. And play make-believe as much as you can.
That's right.
Start with this basic question, which is, what is Vast Grimm and what makes it unique?
Okay. Vast Grimm is a tabletop role-playing game that uses the Morkborg rules as the foundation for the game itself, but it's a sci-fi horror setting set in a universe that is nearing its demise. So it's coming to its closing probably throughout the course of your campaign.
The nice thing about Morkborg is it's a rules light system. We've been saying rules light and art heavy. You could also say just rules light and fun heavy. And I say that because, it is a lot of fun. And, a lot of games get bogged down in the rules and charts and, mathing and all this other stuff. And, this doesn't really do that. The rules are there just enough to make the game function well, but they're also in the background enough and you can almost forget them. And that's what makes a game so immersive, interactive with other party members and things like that. And just, it flows well.
I agree. The grooviness of it is the fact that it's got the ability to be a one-off fast 2-hour game, or you could build you could build a very long campaign provided you guys, as characters and, really figure out the kind of nooks and crannies that are in there, because there's a ton of them, really. Just like in Merkborg, there's a ton of little things that you might not notice on your first 2 or 3 reads, and that's what's great about it. It's so much fun to it was fun to write, but it's fun to read still to this minute. And we've been working on it for a long time.
And it's also something that, if you don't want to read anything, you just want to flip through and look at some cool artwork. I mean,
Yeah.
like Morgborg, it's I think that people will really enjoy just doing that alone. And if you don't like the artwork in it, well then screw you.
This book isn't for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I blame Brian and David at that point then.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to jump into one of the questions from our chat. So this is from Zrin. She asks, what goes on in the back end, both during and after a campaign like this, like a crowdfunding campaign? I'm curious about the behind the scenes of it all. Backers only see updates, questions and answers, and discussions in the Discord. What does a day for each of you look like during all of this? So who wants to start with?
Go ahead, David.
Stress. Pain, sorrow, sleepless nights. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I mean, just kidding, just a little bit. But no, I mean, it's very exciting. It's you got to be able to adapt. You have to. I mean, you're on your toes from the second you wake up that morning until the second you finally just collapse at night. I mean. These guys know we were just talking today, it just so happened about how many campaigns we've each done. And I mean, they are some of the most concentrated days of work that I've ever had in my career as a professional or anything like that. I mean, the days leading up to a campaign and the day of the campaign, and then the campaign lasts anywhere for us usually 21 plus days. And by the end of it, you're literally just exhausted. But the average day is a lot of planning, marketing, seeing what marketing is working, seeing what's not, talking to backers, answering questions because you have a lot of questions. Editing the page, sometimes you find mistakes or, you got to stay on top of the stretch goals. I mean,
learning a new platform as you go.
Learning a new platform this time around is, we're learning the quirks and we're finding a few bugs here and there and trying to figure out our ways around them. I mean, Brian was kind of beating his head against his screen earlier today, having some issues with some things. But I mean, for the most part, for a brand new platform that we've never launched anything on, I think things have, knock on wood, things have gone fairly smoothly other than a few hiccups here and there.
Yeah, and even Kickstarter has its quirks, and those quirks have been around for years and years, and I don't think they're ever going to fix them or change them. It's just how it is. So
I have a different perspective because I've never actually been involved in something like this before, and so I got to watch how this actually works from kind of outside the box, and I have to say it was pretty spectacular. Everybody's nervous. Everybody works really hard right before. I know every single one of the guys and girls on Infinite Black's team was crashing into this. And then suddenly it launches and things start to happen and things go wrong. And the team, it was really amazing watching the live response to questions, posts, social media questions, social media posts, problems on the site, fix them, go, boom, bang. It's like a military operation almost. I was humbled and stunned by it. It was phenomenal. And then once that 2-hour moment hit 121 minutes, when the thing funded, that's when things got really go.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
there was a bunch of stress to that point, but then suddenly there was a lot more work that I saw being done, and people flying around, and I'm flying around too, and it was nuts and really impressive. So before and after ZRAM, like tons of work before and then tons of work during, but it's like super cool. It's like watching I don't know, the Enterprise at full speed and working like an oiled machine. And I
Yeah.
mean that most sincerely.
And not
That's
only
awesome.
that, but it's almost like watching your kid grow up in an instant. It's like, this baby that you had is just all of a sudden, introduced to the world and grows, and it's like, it's amazing to watch. I know Brian, seeing this and seeing people's reaction, it's all special to us, but I know for a fact that, I mean, it's got to be extremely special to Brian, considering, the amount of work. And I tip my cap to him and everybody else on the team, but especially Brian for, rallying everybody around this idea and really selling it and getting everybody super excited about it.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to see so many people into it. I mean, we all love Elder Dice, and we know that Infinite Blacks fans all love Elder Dice, but to see so many people getting the book too, and thinking about how many people are going to be using their Elder Dice while playing, like, are they going to be using the Grimm? Are they going to be using they? What are they going to be doing while they're playing Vast Grimm? And how are they going to take this in completely different ways than, as Ross and I were talking about the ideas for how this universe would unfold? How are they going to take it in completely opposite directions than we would ever imagine going?
Yeah.
Yeah, being the creators of Elder Dice, I know we all think a lot about the way that the dice fit different types of characters in the game. I know that a lot of our players feel the same way. Like you want like a special set of dice that sort of represents that character. And I think that's one of the things that makes Elder Dice great, is because we don't just give you dice, but we got, the spell book, box and everything. So it's like you really feel like that's part of your character, or at least I do. And so, yeah, Vast Grimm's got the same kind of thing going for it with the dice for it, and the boxes look awesome. I wish we need to do some videos of the holographic boxes, because they are just so cool. So.
Send them to me.
Yeah, they look really nice. And one thing when you guys were talking a minute ago, I was just had the thought, when you create an RPG, when you're creating a game, you're creating something that allows people to make their own memories, because how many times have you guys talked to somebody that's, brought up a story about a campaign or a character and a moment in that campaign where they almost died or they did this or that, and when people start playing this game, a lot of them are going to be creating moments like that some of them will remember forever. I mean, I can remember pivotal moments in several of my characters' adventures, and that's going to be something that people will remember Vast Grimm for too, and that's awesome to think about.
Yeah, that is cool. All right, we're gonna move on to the next question, just because we got lots of questions and stuff. So this one is also from Zrin. How do you decide what stretch goal will be, and if every planned stretch goal is met and funds still keep rolling in, how quickly do you come up or how do you make the decision on whether or not to add more stretch goals, as well as deciding what those extra stretch goals are?
Well, it's kind of funny. Before each campaign, we always go into it thinking that we know all the stretch goals that we're going to bring to the table, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of like what Ross said. When he was watching how everything worked and having to adapt to the situation. That there's a lot of things that backers bring up that are great ideas, and it's not something that we talked about, or maybe we did talk about it, but didn't think it was going to be as important to people as it turned out to be. And every single campaign that I've ever been a part of, we've ended up having at least one stretch goal, and sometimes several. at the end of the campaign that we had not even dreamed about at the beginning of the campaign. That requires a lot of quick communication with manufacturers, or what depending on whatever it is that you're trying to make. Can we make this thing? B, can we make this thing and not impact our timeline significantly or any at all? And C, are we going to be able to make this thing and it be affordable for us, or if it's an add-on or something, is it going to be something that backers would be able to afford as well? So there's a lot of things that go into that, and one of the mistakes that some people can make is they get all excited and they do these stretch goals, and then they end up finding out that it's extremely expensive, or it's causing difficulties in some way as far as manufacturing goes. So there's a lot of things that come into play when you're deciding those things, especially on the fly.
Yeah, there's a lot of lead time leading up to our campaigns where we have to do really careful estimates and quotes for basically everything we want to do. Even a stretch goal that like improves the quality of something. For instance, like with our Shards of Illumination Elder Dice campaign, some of the stretch goals were like to add the palette foil to some of the boxes and everything. So I mean, we had to get careful quotes on like how much that would cost to print it in that way, because I'm trying to think, has there been anything? I think there was something that we wanted to do, and when they came back to us, it was just outrageously expensive. Can you think of David? Can you think of anything like that? Like I know there's something.
I can think of something specifically for this campaign that I wanted to do that just the manufacturer just couldn't.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I want the edges. I wanted the edges of the pages as a stretch goal to be gilded with a magenta foil, so that when you look at it, it's like those old books that have gold foil, but magenta. And it was not something that was going to be feasible with the printer that we're using.
Yeah, sadly it significantly increased the cost of the books, like by a surprising amount. I was kind of shocked, actually.
Yep.
Zrin just asked a follow-up question, which it's easy to answer, but has there been any stretch goals that specifically came from the community where someone or many suggested and we decided it was such a good idea, and so we did it? And I mean, for sure, that was with our Elder Dice, our last Elder Dice campaign, we did that Leviathan extra large D20. That was not planned in the beginning. Yeah. And so many people were asking for oversized D20s that we were just like, we were like, well, you should really look into this. So
yeah, and that was a big scramble, because it's like, okay, well, we're going to make an oversized one, but how big is big enough, but not too big, but also not too small? And it's like you have to get this Goldilocks die, and it's not something that we had on our radar, but people talked about it and wanted it, and we were able to make it happen, and it turned out to be something really great that we're glad that we were able to make it part of that campaign.
How long was the process for coming up with the idea for Vast Grimm, developing it to a play-testable state, play-testing it prior to the campaign, and then launching it?
Okay. Well, I tend to dive into things and move pretty fast. So Ross ran the game of Merkborg in November, I think, late November, maybe. So then we started working on writing.
2020, though, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we haven't had November yet for 2021. So yeah, that was 2020. Yeah.
I thought it took us more than a year. I guess it didn't.
No, and we started writing. That's right. We started writing it in December.
Yeah.
And then brought it to Infinite Black in January, and continued writing it, and then through while Infinite Black, the team started building around it. We started putting it together just from that point on, and I want to say we probably had the first playtest in May.
February.
Was it February? Okay.
Yeah.
And the very, what's that?
No, go ahead.
And the very first playtest before we did it. Oh, because that's right. Because we did the Merkborg play test that Ross ran for the Infinite Black team, just so you could get a feel for the mechanics. But then I ran a playtest for our Atlanta-based friends before running it for the Infinite Black team, just to get a feel with people that I was used to playing with, because I've been playing with that crew off and on for probably 20 years. So we went into playtesting pretty darn fast. So I mean, after that, after the February game, we may have playtested Vast Grimm maybe March. Ross, do you remember?
That sounds about right. I mean, the funny bit is that we almost like put the cart before the horse in some ways, in that we were writing and getting ready to play. I don't know. We were playing before we were done writing, and it was kind of fun because it was a mess, and we kind of figured out what we wanted. But that's sort of the charm of this particular system. It's not a mess, but it's like so simple that you can make it messy.
I think it would have been a mistake to do all the writing before playing, though. I think it kind of has to happen that way, because the experience of playing, it's going to modify it. Like,
very, very thin, and we just made stuff up.
Right.
But one of the things that was so surprising about it is, as quickly as it came together, and as soon as we started playtesting, I mean, there definitely were some changes and some tweaks and things like that, but it played so well even from that first playtest that, I mean, I was surprised.
Yeah, the first draft, the first game we sat in on and played it was really smooth. Yeah, there really wasn't that much that we thought needed to be changed.
I think it was more just environment, like pumping up the horrific factor, like Brian touched on in our last talk, was him not being used to the horror aspect of the game, right, Brian?
Right, yeah. Like when I describe things, I don't necessarily go into the gruesome, terrifying stuff. So as a GM, I just need to learn when I need to turn that up quite a bit and really, really push it. And I think part of that is starting to come through as I've run multiple people through the sessions, and that'll be completely up to whoever's running the game. Like some people, I mentioned today on Nerdarchy that I'm more of a like gross 80s horror sort of person, where it's like I want to see the things popping and bursting and being disgusting, and not like the terror, like on the edge of your seat, not knowing what's around the corner sort of horror. But that's completely subjective to whoever is running the game and helping paint the picture for the game that people are playing at the table.
Yeah, and talking about painting a picture, again, go check out the videos that we have posted on the campaign page after our talk, because I mean, you could just hear from the intros that both of those guys did, how atmospheric, and how you could just like so instantly be drawn into the atmosphere of the game, and like Brian said, depending on how the GM wants to play it and those sorts of things, you can really raise that terror factor if you want to. And I thought that was one of the cool things about those videos, is they really started them off setting the tone for Vast Grimm really well.
Absolutely. And there's lots of little elements that Ross and I put in that are just funny to us. Like the way certain things are written, the flaws that certain people have, and it's like, wow, this is really, really terrible. You're going to have this character, and this part's going to be awful, but it's hilarious how it works.
When it happens in game, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny and it's so perfect, and you realize how spectacular things can be, rather than necessarily like over the top violence or not enough violence. You can make it exactly as you want it, and that's what really works well.
Brian and I were laughing about how much fun Ross is having with creating the fumble charts for the game.
Yep.
because you
Items
can.
have always been more fun. It's kind of like cursed items, because there's so many ridiculous things, and you just have to sort of adapt your character to it. And almost everything in Fast Grimm is like that.
Well, another part of the beauty there, though, and this is what the guys at Merkborg really translated and allowed us to jump from, is that you love your character, but you haven't spent like 6 hours trying to like stat them out and make them perfect and buff them up and shine them or her perfectly. You can kind of play loose and fast with your character, and if your character survives, then all the better. But if your character doesn't, you can snap another one out. And I don't know, for me, that was important because it allowed me a bit of looseness in play where I wasn't afraid of going full on, what's that hilarious World of Warcraft bit?
Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy Jenkins, right?
Yeah.
Way back.
If you come rolling in and you totally blow it and roll the one and you lose both your limbs, well, you're just going to have to buy some new ones. And
Yeah.
fun,
Well, what's fun is trying to figure out a way to play with something like that happening to you.
Exactly. And no sadness on your part because, oh man, I really worked on this character for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Next
love the
question.
character build.
From Malakat, and this is a really great question. What are the differences between doing this campaign and doing the Kickstarter campaigns?
Just from a platform perspective, or I guess we could answer it both ways, doing it from a platform perspective and also from the subject matter being a RPG versus just a straight.
Yeah, definitely.
And also the philosophical side as well for being on a product that's in beta as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a short answer and toss it over to Brian. But one of the big things that we are proud of and happy beyond measure to be pioneers on GameFound is the fact that this is the first RPG to crowdfund on this platform, and I think this platform really has a great future because being game designers and very successful game designers and seasoned crowdfunding experts as the people that behind GameFound are, they know what people like us and our industry need in order to make things easier and to be more successful at bringing a game to backers. And so they've taken those lessons that they've learned and those wants that they wish they had, and instead of just sitting there wishing they had them, they made them, which is really awesome.
Being the very first RPG on here, we have a responsibility to try and make this as big as we possibly can so that other people that develop RPGs know that it's a platform that they can be successful on.
Right.
I mean, and knowing that the people that are already on GameFound that get the emails that GameFound sends out, they're all gamers. Sure, they may be board gamers primarily, but there is that crossover between the two communities, and it's not as widespread and gunshot as Kickstarter. So it's very exciting to try and see how we can help build this and how we can maybe help other RPG people come into this and grow that side of their offering.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, I'm really excited that GameFound sort of consolidates some of the stuff that we need into one place, because it's a big challenge when you run a Kickstarter. Nothing against Kickstarter, but like when we have to do the pledge manager after, it's a challenge communicating that with a lot of the backers who come in and they're excited, but they're not really familiar with Kickstarter, and like it can be confusing when you have to go to a different place to pick your add-ons or make your choices for your pledge. So it's really cool that GameFound is trying to do it all in one spot. And I really think it's going to be a cool platform in the future and just get bigger for like board game communities, because I mean, those communities are already huge on Kickstarter. And so I hope they're successful.
Yeah. And I will say this though, I don't want this to seem like a knock on Kickstarter because it's definitely not. I mean, we
No.
all greatly appreciate that platform and what we've been able to do. I mean, Infinite Black was born on Kickstarter, and I'll never forget that. And we will continue to release content and campaigns on Kickstarter. One of the nice things about GameFound is that, you know, I was about to say, as long as this is successful, it's already successful. But it's provides us with another place to introduce ideas and projects and things. So you can expect from us in the future to fully utilize both platforms, definitely.
One difference for this campaign too from our old ones is in the past year and a half or so, the Infinite Black team has sort of been expanding and growing. And so this is not only is this our first RPG game, but this is our first sort of campaign in a slightly new direction, you know, away from the Cthulhu mythos stuff. And it's just, we hope to do more stuff like this where we can just sort of expand and do different cool stuff, you know, and hopefully people will love it. But this is definitely our first step into that.
I've got a question before on our Trello board of things that we had to do today. One of the things was everybody have a drink at the end of the day. I know I've got my drink. How about everybody else?
I have some wine here.
Excellent.
I got to go get my drink. I don't think water counts, so let me.
It
see.
does
It
not
doesn't
count.
count. What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
I need to be able to move that card from one column to another, so you got to get that, David.
That's true. Yeah, that is very true, and I don't want us to have that on our list for much longer. So give me just a minute.
I like that there's a bottle of Jameson waiting there to crack open for someone here. Shaman Nanamanam.
Excellent.
I'm enjoying a nice Laws rye.
Excellent.
So
I've got
another question for Malakat is how does it work when you've got two campaigns running at the same time, or is Shards more of a sit back and wait stage right now?
Well, so David's off pouring the drink, so I can jump in here. Everything is currently near the end. Like almost all of the manufacturing is completely done. We're like, if you've checked the latest update, things are palleted up and getting ready to get shipped from point A to point B. So that is in the end stages. And one of the things that we've struggled with a little bit with that is like, you know, as a smaller company, how does that come across to people? Because some folks don't like it if one project isn't completely fulfilled before you start another one. But knowing that we're trying to grow and become a bigger company, that's kind of what you have to do. You have to have multiple projects going at one time. And because we've built a foundation with the people that our community, and we know that they trust us to deliver what we're going to do, we feel totally confident having more than one project open at a time like this.
We wanted to time that right for sure.
I have returned.
Hello.
Excellent.
Drink in hand.
Perfect.
So we're talking about Shards shipping.
A little bit of Shards, kind of the stage we're at now with the Shards of Illumination.
And we were talking about having more than one campaign going at a time, and a little bit of like the juggling the two, with one being in a almost complete status versus one that's launching. So
yeah, well, I caught a little bit of what was said, but not everything. But one thing I will say is one of the ways these projects work, there's a lot of work going into the campaign itself. Like you're trying to finish as much as humanly possible before that campaign even launches, so that when things wrap up and when you receive the money for manufacturing and all of that, you can roll straight into manufacturing with as little delay as possible. Because the manufacturing process takes a long time, and then the shipping process takes a long time. And so what that means is a couple of months after the campaign has wrapped up and you've sent in all those final files to the manufacturers and manufacturing's going, you know, you've got some downtime's not really the word for it, because you always fill it with something. And so we fill it with new projects. And we've done this enough times that we are confident enough and have enough people to be able to handle multiple projects at once.
Okay, here's a good question. The next stretch goal, the bookmark ribbon with writing on it, is that a cipher for an actual message in that image?
Because there's only a handful of you listening right now, there is a cipher around all of the grimoires. There is this font in a strange sci-fi text, and if it's unscrambled, it will reveal a message in each of those. So I think we're going to probably do the same thing with the ribbon.
Once again,
Is there content on the GM mat screen that is not in the book?
Yes, there are 2 charts that are on the GM screen that are not in the book.
Can you talk about what they are?
There is a fumble chart, and hang on, I don't remember, because I've had the GM, like I've had a mock-up GM screen in front of me for so long when we play now. So let me go to the add-ons and click, because it says on the GM screen. It has the Wandering Grimm and a fumble chart. It's a random chart to roll what sort of creature is infected with the Grimm.
What was your favorite moment of playtesting Vast Grimm? This question goes to everybody.
I'm trying to narrow it down. Hang on, it's going to take me just a second. I mean, I'll say this. It always involves Lat's character. Lat's character, Xerox, is an emo bot that you can tell that Lat used to be in Xerox hell at one point, having to fix Xerox machines. And so now his character is like this manifestation of all that terribleness that he had to go through with all these errors and things like that. And
in a post-apocalyptic
hilarious
universe, all he wants to do is help with your printing, copying, and faxing needs.
Right. That's his entire goal. Is to
Unfortunately, he is broken and is out of toner.
Right. He's got paper jam.
Really without a purpose at this point, though he really feels like he wants to help.
Yeah, he really does. And it's hilarious.
Xerox is a great
character. Yeah, anything involving Xerox is probably my favorite one.
Yep. Xerox has been Lat and Xerox have been like the star of the Infinite Black show. It's just been fantastic, and the stark contrast between that character and the Harvester character that David plays, that's so vile and disgusting and wanting to be friendly with the worms, is really it could be a buddy comedy movie for sure.
Yeah,
in such a weird way.
That would be hilarious. And that's when I first started playing that character, I don't know if you had ever planned on anyone actually wanting like a worm as a pet or something like that. I don't know if you actually envisioned that, but it was he's an interesting guy and he loves worms, and worms should not be loved. Let's just go ahead and put it out there. They should not.
They should not. But when we created the classes, and I can't remember which one, Ross, if you remember, let me know. We created the 2 dark characters, the Devout and the Harvester. We created one, and then we kind of realized that if we're going to have one, we need to have a second one just in case there's only one kind of evilish character in the party, aside from like a treacherous merc or something like that. But we needed a little more if the whole group wanted to go kind of weird, crazy.
The bit there is that we realized that we had all these characters that they were kind of fitting into the classic norms of characters, whether it was some sort of fighter or what I would call a magic user, But so we needed something different, and we had sort of twisted. The Harvester is a twisted character, in my opinion. And then from there, we were sort of like let's make up as many crazy things as we can make up, including the emo bot, which started out as just the sad bot. I don't even think we called it the bot at that point.
No, because
there's rules that we can't talk about that had to change. But the emo bot became, for me, that's my favorite of the classes.
That's purely your baby. Like Ross wrote every bit about the emo bot.
My favorite thing about our playtest was not exactly a moment, but it was something that an idea I came up with that I thoroughly enjoyed, which was when we were playing on we played through Discord. We played through a bunch of different like online platforms for playing role playing games because we were actually experimenting with just trying out different ones. So one of the things I was doing with my character was I would periodically I pulled up a list of error codes from an actual Xerox fax machine. So I would just periodically in the chat I would just be outputting error codes. And I really enjoyed that.
Well, and one of the things, here we go, we're telling stories now, but one of the things that was a hilarious moment was we were trying to, I don't know, we were trying to overload an AI that was attempting to kill us or whatever. So we got this idea that we were going to get Xerox to upload his entire error log into the system to just like basically just do like a DDoS attack on the thing. It was too funny.
Yeah, it didn't quite work. It was a good plan, but
Yeah, but the error log is just massive.
okay, so there was a question from Zrin. He was curious about the first RPG on GameFound and how that came about. Did we approach GameFound? Did they approach us? Was it a happy coincidence?
I'd been checking out GameFound mainly because I knew that we had still had shards on Kickstarter, and I was trying to see what other platforms were out there. And I had already been getting some notifications because I was following some project on GameFound, and I saw that they were in beta, and then I saw how massive Awaken Realms crowdfunding projects were, the folks that are behind GameFound, thinking that they were doing something right. I talked to David about it and said, how about we just email them and see if we can get in on the beta and see if that's a possibility. And after we talked about it and sent the email off, we set up a video chat with the founders and learned more about what they were doing, learned more about who they were and why they were doing GameFound. And I think at that point we were sold. It wasn't necessarily whether or not we were going to bring a big enough audience to this project, because we knew the project, we were hopeful that this project would be at least successful enough to go into production on all the elements. But the idea of partnering on a project with other people that are like-minded as gamers, it was very attractive. So that's how it all came. Part of it was they saw all of the success that Elder Dice had and how professional everything had been handled so far by Infinite Black. I'm sure that's what helped sell us into them, because they have been very selective with who they allowed into their beta tests, their beta users so far, because they want to kind of put their best foot forward as they bring this out into the world and before they launch it for everybody to be able to use.
Zirin has a great question that just popped up.
His question is, are you looking at virtual tabletop integration for the game?
I am probably looking at so many different virtual tabletops that everybody's frustrated with how many times I change. Hey, let's try this one. Hey, let's try this one. No, this one's going to be the best one.
I've literally yelled at Brian about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't do anymore, Brian. He's like, no, this one's better.
He's approached me with several questions too. What was the last one? The one that's sort of community driven, open source with
the Foundry VTT.
Yeah, I don't know how feasible it would be to make components for that, which since, I guess I'm the programmer of the group, not that things happen quickly, but I looked at it and I was like, man, I don't know, maybe. So it's something I guess we're evaluating.
Yeah.
To answer Steven's question though, like kind of on a more analog level, Brian and I have already discussed, and we're already starting to work towards creating maps that will integrate with most, if not all, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, stop me if I'm talking, baloney here, Brian.
It's pretty late where Brian and Ross are, especially. So it's been we've been up and going at it for a while. So it might be a good idea to go ahead and wrap it up.
That sounds good.
Yes, thank you for everybody that tuned in to listen. Thanks to all of you for answering questions and everything.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for hanging out and asking the questions and being a part of the community and telling your friends about this and supporting the project, because like I said earlier, Infinite Black was born on Kickstarter, and that means that backers are what built this company, and backers are what are building this this game. Really, it wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be able to do it without that.
Thanks y'all so much.
Thank
we worked
you.
hard, and you guys are awesome. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. You can find Vast Grimm at vastgrimm.com, and it is currently crowdfunding on GameFound. Be sure to get it before the campaign's over. This has been brought to you by Infinite Black and Creature Curation.